All right. You are welcome again to today's lecture. Please mute yourself.
Yes, sir.
So you are welcome again to today's lecture. We thank God thus far for helping us, and I hope that you guys have been gaining value from this course, right? And if you have any feedback, any challenges, anything that is not yet clear, feel free to get back to me on Discord server. So today, as I said, today is our third session on cybersecurity bootcamp, and last week we talked about networking, network and security, what constitutes a network. If you haven't watched that video yet, it's on the YouTube, it's on Allotimates. The link is in the Discord server. So I will encourage you to go back to it because everything we are going to be learning is built upon former knowledge, right? So if you want to understand today's lecture and you haven't gone through last week's on Tuesday's session, please go back to it. So today we will continue on where we stopped last week. All right. So okay, let me go to present now. So as you can see, we are welcoming you again. Just relax, open your heart to learn. Yes. So our agenda for today is what we shall be covering in this session. We'll be looking at introduction to firewall, types of firewall, practicing with window firewall, brief introduction to networking tools such as ping, Netstat, and many more. So last week we talked about networking, right? And this course actually based on uh, knowing the left hand of a thing and also knowing the right hand of a thing. If that is sounding like I'm speaking gibberish, I will explain. When we are talking about cybersecurity, we first of all need to have the ground understanding of uh, the thing we are trying to protect. We first of all need to understand what constitutes the thing we are applying security to. So last week we look about networking. So the devices such as your what is it called, your router, your Wi-Fi, your home router. That is the left hand of a thing. So now we are in today's session. We'll be looking at security aspect of that knowledge we learned last week. So let me proceed. So what is firewall? Firewall are physical or software filter that prevent certain data from entering or leaving a network. Firewall permit or deny traffic both inbound and outbound. Firewall sits on the border between the trusted inside and untrusted outside. Firewall help prevent unauthorized access to or from a system network. This include traffic that might attack your computer by malicious user or by malicious software. So as you can see before you, this is a diagram of what firewall is. This is the web what is it called, internet, and this is our computer, our local setup. The in between barricade you can see here, this is what the firewall is. So you can see this O. These are the traffic. This green arrow is the traffic that we've trusted to come into our network, to come into our computer. And you can see the one that is reflecting reflecting back, this red arrow. These are the traffic that are malicious, so to say, that firewall has detected, right? According to definition, firewall are physical or software filter that prevent certain data from entering or leaving a network. So this green arrow is a traffic that we trust. For example, if you take up your phone, you want to go to facebook.com because you trust facebook.com, right? you have configured your firewall to access, to allow traffic to pass through it. So this is the one. So for example, now let's say maybe an hacker has compromised your system in one or two way, and they've installed something they call backdoor on your system, right? So of course that backdoor needs to be communicating with the server wherever it is located, which is known as command and control server. So if you have configured your firewall to block such traffic, this graphical representation is what that firewall will be doing. It will be bouncing the network. If we are going to get to it, the way malware communicates with the CNC. When I mean CNC, command and control server. So as you can see, this is the definition of firewall. Firewall help prevent unauthorized access to or from a system network. This includes traffic that might attack your computer by malicious user or by malicious software. Benefit of firewall. Malware is restricted inbound and outbound. So let me explain that. When I mean inbound, inbound is a conjunction of two words, in and bound, right? When something is inbound, something that is coming in, right? If you, I will still go back to the example I gave earlier. If you take up your phone now, you open your web browser or your, what's it called, any browser you are using, and you type facebook.com, right? You are sending a packet out, which is outbound connection. You are sending that packet out. It is known as outbound. So when you type facebook.com, a page will display that will give you, the front page of facebook.com. That page that display is an inbound. You have received what you requested from the server. That is what they call inbound. Something that is coming in, a traffic that is coming into your network. When it is leaving, it is known as outbound. So it is restricted outbound. When I mean malware is restricted inbound and outbound. In this case, we'll be looking at malware, right? I will define our first session what malware means. Malware is an all-encompassing term for anything that is malicious, right? Unwanted programs like Trojans, like virus. Those are categories of malware. Phishing, smishing, spam. They are, ransomware. They are categories of malware. So it is restricted inbound to protect the company resources, right? When we are using firewall to restrict inbound, in other words, to block malware from entering into our computer. As you can see the image here, this is firewall again. One stand for wide area network, which is in other words, network that is not on our local network. LAN stand for local area network, right? These are the setup that we are trying to protect. This is the firewall, and these are the outside network. So we are trying to use firewall here now to restrict inbound, right? To restrict inbound, it is restricted inbound to protect the company resources. Second one, it is restricted outbound. So the company can't be accused of originating an attack, right? So when I mean, what does that mean? For example, there was a case, there was sort of malware, for example, ransomware. I think in 2017, when ransomware we first be known, I think within a day, I've forgotten the total, but it's in thousands. Within a day, it has infected, I think was it 108, 1800, which is 18. It infected when ransomware first came to limelight, right? It was in 2017. So the first computer it got infected on, it was transmitting from one computer to another, transferring from one computer to another. And within a day, 1,800 computers got infected with ransomware. And, it was so shocking for the world at that time. So you can see now that somebody, first of all, got infected with that virus, right? So it is when a company that is concerned about their reputation, company that is concerned about their public image, they will not want to be known as the originator or the starter of malware. So we use firewall to restrict outbound connection so that company will not be accused of originating an attack. We also use firewall. Firewall are also a way to restrict employees from visiting certain sites like Facebook and YouTube, right? If you are working in an organization and there is a policies. I think there is, I've forgotten the name of the policy now, but there are categories of policies in every organization that is put in place. So maybe we can have policies such as this: do not use Facebook and YouTube during work hour, right? So of course, we still know human being with some people we still like to want to break the rule, right? One of the way we can do that is to use firewall. We can use firewall to block their traffic. We can easily configure it and set that whenever you see connection that is going to port 443, deny that traffic. So when we have set that, when we have configured that settings on firewall, whenever any employee, they want to access facebook.com, it will just, as we get to practical aspect of it, we are going to see what will happen. So I'm just showing us the theory aspect of it. Benefit of firewall. The last one is firewall also prevent from loading potential malware. So let me move. We have categories of firewall. In this session, in this particular section, we'll be looking at two categories or types of firewall. Right? Please let me check. I think I don't have anybody joining. All right. Let me go back. So categories of firewall. We have two categories or types of firewall. We have hardware-based firewalls, which are also referred to as network-based firewalls. Example are checkpoints, next generation firewalls, NGFWS. We have FortiGate, Sophos firewall, WatchGuard, network security, Huawei firewall, etc. We have Cisco, the popularly known. I think they are the owner of NGFW, right? So they are physical. They are like hardware, as it is said, hardware-based firewall, something that you can touch, right? They are the hardware-based firewall that you can touch. This type of firewall can be strategically placed between the corporate edge router, which connects to the internet service provider, which is ISP, and the inside autonomous system. Let me give us a graphical representation of what I am saying. As you can see, this is pictorial representation of network-based firewall, right? The one you can see here, this is our, what is it called? Our local network, as it is said, LAN. LAN stands for local area network. This is the firewall. And this wide area network. Wide area network means network that is not within our local area network. It is, we can also say it is interconnected network, which is popularly known as internet, right? As you can see the arrow, this one that is on my left hand side, it is known as trusted inside. These are the computers that we trust, right? Trusted inside. Now this is the network-based firewall that we are applying at the router-based level, and untrusted outside. Anything that is not in between in this LAN, it is called untrusted outside, irrespective of what that is. So let me proceed. Categories of firewall, we still continue. The second type of firewall we have is host-based firewall. As you can see this image, it is popular on Windows. As we will get to see soon, you will see that it is a graphical image for what is it called? Windows firewall that is on every operating system. So the second type of firewall we have is host-based firewall. It is also referred to as software-based firewall. Common example of such is Windows firewall. They are mostly pre-installed on the computer, right? For example, like I said earlier, it came pre-installed on your Windows. You don't have to install it. They protect just a single computer they are being run on, right? So the network we are talking about let me go back to that slide. You can see that these are multiple computers. This computer 1, computer 2, computer 3. So they protect, network-based protects multiples. Every network that is connected to that, every computer that is connected to that network, they protect all of those, but on a software base or host-based firewall. They are pre-installed on a single computer. For example, the computer that I'm using, it can only protect that computer. If I have 10 sets of computers here, base will only be working on one computer. It cannot affect the configuration on one cannot affect the other 9. So they protect just a single computer they are being runs on, unlike network-based firewall that sits at the edge of the router, thus protecting all the computers running on the inside. So firewall techniques. Here we'll be looking at firewall techniques, right? The techniques mean the way firewall achieve its aims. As you can see, firewall can filter by source IP, destination IP, protocols, ports, and others, right? In our last session, I took time to explain that an IP means internet protocol, which is IPv4. I explained in our last session what IPv4 mean, all those 32-bit 4 numbers, right? If you haven't, you may have to revert back to that session and watch again to have a ground understanding of IP. We need the source IP. Source IP means originating IP, and destination IP. For example, the IP address of the computer. If you're accessing Facebook, right, you need an IP. As I said last week, that every connection on the internet, we need an IP, just a number to identify, to know that this traffic is coming from so and so. And one of the numbers we need is known as source IP, internet protocol, right? We also destination IP, right, which is the IP of the server you are trying to address, right? And I also showed you last week how to get the IP, right? We are still going to do that today in case you've forgotten. And ports, right? I also said ports are just logical numbers. They are not your physical port that you can insert your USB cord to. No, that is not the port I'm discussing here. I'm explaining here rather. So ports are just logical numbers that identify, the service that is running on a computer, right? For example, when you go to facebook.com again, it is running on a web server, right? And which is on a protocol of HTTP. If it is using, of course, Facebook is secure. They are using HTTPS, right? So that is protocol that they are being used, which is known as web server, right? And it is running on port 443. That is when it is secure. But if it is HTTP, it will be running on port 80. So those are the firewall. Firewall can filter by either 4 of these, at least 4 of these criteria I've mentioned. So packet filtering looks, when I mean packet filtering, is it's also synonymous to firewall. Packet filtering looks at each packet. You may not. Let me explain what I mean by packet, right? Packet simply means, when you write a letter, maybe you want to send a letter, a physical letter now that you have written with your hands. It is necessary that you encapsulate that letter inside an envelope, right? Which is to package it and put inside an envelope. So also it is whenever, I also show us Wireshark last week how packet is moving, unseen packet that we can't detect with our eye, but we need a tool to detect it. Whenever those packets are moving on the wire, or traffic are moving on the wire, they are being encapsulated in a packet. Like, just imagine it to be an envelope. When you write a letter, you put inside an envelope. That envelope is what is called a packet here. But that letter itself is what we know as traffic, right? So it is being encapsulated inside that packet, and so packet filtering looks at each packet. So he is looking at each packet that is coming, that enters or leaves a network. The firewall will permit. Please note that it's either it will permit or deny the packet based on the user-defined rules, like source IP, as I mentioned earlier, destination IP address, protocol, and port. Based on the user-defined, you can see that user-defined is in past tense. Firewall is just a technology, right? It needs human beings for it to actually utilize its functionality. So it must have been you must have set some protocols. You must have put some rules in place for it to function. So it deny or permit a packet based on user-defined rules. So let me proceed. All right. It is time for practice. As you can see before you, it's time for practice. So I still want to confirm if you are hearing me, if I'm audible, please unmute yourself and give me a response.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. You can mute yourself now. Let me proceed. So as I said, this is time for our practical time. As we are going to be looking at this first phase of our practice, because we still have more sessions to cover. More section to cover still on this particular session 3. Our practical time will be exploring window firewall and window firewall log analyzer. So let me go to my desktop. Let me exit out of this place. And I know by now that you know how to get to where Windows Firewall is. Just click on Windows key on your system and type Windows Advanced, or you can just type Firewall. It will bring it. As you can see it here, Windows Defender Firewall with Advanced Security. So I'm just going to open this with run as administrator. In case you are doing it, it may not ask you for password, but I've configured my system for security purpose. That's why it's asking me for this. Because as it said, run as administrator means it needs a higher privilege than the normal privilege I'm using for that to work. So this is the main interface of Windows Defender Firewall. As you can see, we have Windows Defender Firewall. We have inbound rules. We said earlier inbound and outbound. Inbound rules, outbound rules. We have connectivity, connection security rules. But where we'll be focusing on, you can see this domain profile, private profile, public private. As you can see, we say public profile is active, which is to show you that I've connected to a public Wi-Fi. So what does this mean? It's just showing that whenever you are in a private profile, private network, this is a network that it will connect to. But when you are on a public, it will connect to this. So it's either two of these, but this domain is is out of scope for this lecture. So let me you will go to this Windows Defender Firewall with properties. So as I said, this is domain profile, private profile, public profile, IPsec. The one we will be focusing on, of course, all of them, but we'll be focusing on is either private or public, because the same settings applies to each and every one of them, as you can see. So as you can see, we have is saying there that specified behavior for when a computer is connected to a public network location. I said it earlier, when you connect to a public network, this is where it will get, this is where the firewall will be activated, right? As you can see, firewall state is said is on, right? I've on my firewall. So of course, for security purpose, it is good that that is always be on. As you can see, recommended. Inbound connections. As I said earlier, inbound connection means connection that is coming in from outside. Connection that is coming in from outside. That is what the inbound connection. You can see that default they set is block. We have three options here. Is either to block or allow. As we said earlier, is either to permit or deny. It's the same thing as block or allow. So default that came pre-installed or pre-configured with this firewall is to block, right? Which is good for security purpose. Outbound connections, as you can see, is saying here to be to also allow. Now, when a malware gets infected to infect a system, right? The way the malware communicates with the server, with the server, yes, the person that is controlling the malware is known as outbound. It is through outbound, right? For example, when a virus has infected my system now, right? So it will need to communicate out of my network with the person that is controlling it. Maybe I'm in Nigeria, as I'm here in Nigeria, right? An attacker has breached into my system and is in United States. You can see that we are far apart, right? So the malware he has installed on my system needs to communicate with him where he is in United States. So the way it communicates is known as outbound connections, because that malware that is on my system currently will be performing some specific action. So it will be communicating out, right? Like the example we did last session, how Kali Linus was get infected to the other machine we attack, and you saw that, and I was saying that of course we run that locally. It's the same methodology that applies to globally also. When we are to do it globally, it's the same methodology. You can see outbound connection, it's allow means default. But for the sake of security purpose, if you totally want to lock your computer internet access, I won't try it here, because if I should try it, I will get disconnected from the internet. So I'm on live session, so you can just block here. If you set it to block and apply and click OK, you won't have internet access. You can try it after this session, right? So outbound connections, I will set it back to allow default as it was. You will, that is just the basic of it, right? So now let me go to the advanced. You can see from here. Let me show you some inbound rules we have. As you can see, we have inbound rules. These are, as I said earlier, let me go back to that slide so that we won't get disconnected. We said here that firewall can filter by source IP, destination IP, protocols, ports, at least 4 of these. Of course, there are more than this. That's why you see an others, but at least it must be 4 of these. So let's go back. So you can see we have profile. The profile is asking is the one we show whether it is private or public. You can see we have enabled. We have action, is either to allow or block. We have program. Program is the application we are trying to block, whether it is a software, whether it is a software or a program on our system we are trying to block. Local address, right? It's saying any. The option we have here is any. Local address means is either if you are connected to a local connection, you can even block from for example, on your home router. If you connect 2 laptops to your home router, they will both have the same local IP address. The one I showed last week also, they will both have the same local IP address. Let me show that. Let me show you that again, in case IP config /all. So this is my local IP address. Just imagine that I have 3 computers connected to the same Wi-Fi network that I'm using. We are going to have this. It will first start with 192.168, which is the network ID address. 192.168. We will both share it. You can try it on your own, for further clarity. But let me go back to the lecture, to the main course. So that is what it means by local address. Local address, when it's remote, it is the IP address I show you also. Let me show you when I type what is my IP address. What is my IP address? This is what they call. You can see that is different. This is my remote IP address, which is public IP address. It's known as public also. So let me go back. So we can see authorized user, but that's not I said earlier it can be more than 4, but the 4 that is that is needed for packet filtering is source IP, destination IP, protocols, and ports, right? So, and as you can see, we are just going to, for the sake of clarity, we are going to create a simple rule to block an application from having internet access, right? So I'm going to do that now. To do that, I'm going to you can see the option for new rule here, right? No, this is under inbound. I'm not going to set rule under inbound. As I've said earlier, it's connection that is coming in. You see, it is under here that I can block any service. For example, if I have detected that a malicious hacker has an IP address of 10, let me just 192, or I don't want to use a local IP address, let's say 101.198.50, or let me use host name. An attacker has, is connecting through from the server to my computer on attackers.com, and I have, as we are going to see, there are some tools we are still going to check that you can use to discover all those things on your system. And I've used one of those tools to check, and I've detected that this is an IP address that is coming from malicious website. What I can do is come to this site, right, and and create a rule to block that particular server or particular address from communicating, right? So, but where I'm going to be performing an example here is on outbound rules. Outbound rules. Let me first of all delete. Okay, I've enabled it. So you will come to this new rule. New rule. You can see that I'm under outbound rules. You will come to new rules. So these are the function that is going to be asking. Program means rule that control connection for a program. As we define all of these things nitty-gritty in our last session. Let me check. I think somebody is trying to join. All right. So let me go back. So program, you can see program means a software, for example, like Chrome. Chrome. That's what program mean. On team, Microsoft Team that I'm using, any program that is run that we don't want to, or it could be even an IP address or what is it called? Website, right? So we can see, I'm going to customize, I'm going to for custom rule. Let me go to custom rule. So it's asking if I want to all programs. No, I don't want all programs. Let me choose program and click next. It will ask me for the program parts, right? So let me just say let me browse. So any application that you download on your system, you can mostly find it. You can see that I'm under Chrome here, but I'm not blocking Chrome. I want to go to program files. You can see program files. Any third application that you download from the internet that is not pre-installed on Windows OS, this is where it is normally stored. You can see all the application on my system. So the one I'm going to be blocking for the sake of example is I think I have Microsoft. What is it called? Mozilla. Yes. What is their website again? What is it? Let me check their browser. Sorry. Firefox. I'm going to be blocking Firefox to restrict it of accessing internet from here, right? So let me check. It should not be here. Or I can use Internet Explorer or anyone. But let me see whether I can check that. Let me use Internet Explorer for the sake of time. This, you can see, Internet Explorer. Oh, should be under Microsoft. Edge. Edge is the new browser. So this is Edge. I'll be blocking Edge. So I will then click next. So what he's saying here is, what he's asking here is, what action should be taken when a connection matches the specified conditions? He's asking whether I should allow the connection, right? Allow the connection if it is secure. You can see that it is blocked. I'm going to leave it to block because that is was the essence of this practice, to check whether it will, to see firewall in action, right? So I'm going to block the connection. I will click next. So it's asking, what does this rule apply? When does this rule it's asking, when does this rule apply? Is it when I connect to domain? As I said earlier, domain means, as he said, it applies when a computer is connected to its corporate domain, right? But that is out of scope here. When it is connected to a private network, so I will apply it to both of the three. It's asking me for a name. This is you can use anything to name it. I'm just going to say what is edge block. So description, I will just say blocking outbound connection block on Edge browser. So I will click finish. You can see that it has created the new rule. You can see it here. I hope you can still see my screen. So this is the new rule. So what is a profile that it applies to all the three profile. Enable, yes. Action. So those are the rules right, that I've created. So let's go back now and try and access it. Where's Edge? So let me try facebook.com. You can see it's saying, your internet access is blocked. Your internet access is blocked. And you will be wondering that is it that my internet connection is faulty or something. But let me go back to Chrome that I've been using and try to access the same facebook.com here. You can see that it loads this particular website on this browser. Why is that happening? It's because I've configured firewall to block connection that is trying to, let me still explain, outbound and inbound again. Let me go back to Edge. When I type facebook.com, I'm trying to request for what is it called, for a service, right? And that service that I'm requesting for is synonymous to outbound connection that I've been saying thus far. It's as if I'm sending a connection out of my own network. So that's why it's saying, because I've configured firewall to block any connection that it sees going out of internet, what is it called, Edge browser, to just block it, to drop the packet. So you can see here that firewall is in place, and I also access the same service on Chrome, and you can see that it's load the page. So that is just the basic. As I said, this is a host-based operating system. Host-based firewall, which is user-friendly, right? But if you are talking about configuring host network-based, those are the what is it called? Cisco firewall, next generation firewall. All those things, they require more to be technology inclined. They require advanced techniques than this. So this one is user friendly, and it, as I said earlier, that it can only affect this single computer. It does not affect any other net or computer that is connected, that are connected to that particular network. So that is where I'll be stopping. And if you also want to delete it, you can just come here and click on right click on it and delete the rule. Let me delete it. So I've deleted the rule. So inbound connections also, you can use that for it. Inbound simply means if you have discovered, as I said earlier, that somebody is always communicating with your computer from so let's say attackers.com. What you can do is come to this, as I've done thus far, create a rule that block that particular host name or IP address. So whenever that connection is coming, when firewall detects it, it will drop the packet. So it's good for security. So I will proceed from here. Our next uh, handy tools we'll be looking at is Windows. Let me go back to my slide. It is called Win Firewall Log Analyzer. This actually simplifies the process of all those we're trying to do with what is it called, with Windows Firewall. This Win Firewall Log Analyzer is, as he said, it's a log analyzer. It collects all the logs, all the packets that Firewall has is either drop or permit. It collects it all together, and we, as he said, we are now going to be analyzing it. It gives us a user a graphical interface, a histogram and pie chart that makes those information looks beautiful to sort through. So I'm going to give you, just go to this site if you want to download it, because it's already installed on my own system. So please confirm if you can still see my screen. Hello. All right. So we come to this. Just go to Google and type Windows Firewall Log Analyzer download. This particular sourceforge.net. This is where you will download it from. This is it here. Sorry, this is not the correct one. So I'm going to include the link, right, to the download site on this particular document or the channel or Discord server. For the sake of time, let me quickly introduce you to Firewall Log Analyzer. Sorry, it needs admin rights, admin privilege to operate. Let me open it as an administrator. So it's running. So as you can see, this is Windows Log Firewall Analyzer. As I said earlier, this is the date. This is the date. You can see the headers, heading rather, date, time, action. Action, we have allow or disallow, which is allow or deny. We have protocol. Protocol means, as I said, HTTP is a protocol, HTTPS is a protocol, TCP we saw last week is a protocol, IP is a protocol, ICMP, Internet Control Message Protocol. Those are the protocols. Source IP, destination IP, source port, destination port, size, TCP flags. You can see TCP SYN that we saw, saw last week using Wireshark to see. TCP ACK, TCP WIN, all those things, but those are not the focus of this. It's collecting all the logs from Firewall so that you can easily view it from here. As you can see, TCP packet, which is on port 440, which is HTTP, what is it called? HTTPS, which is web server, as you can see. HTTPS stand for Hypertext Transfer Protocol over SSL/TLS. So it's collected 14,975 packets. We have UDP, we have UDP also. So you can see it's a top rows by source IP, top rows by ports, right? Most of the packets it's allowed or on which by port, as it said, is on port 443. UDP is the domain name system 443 again. So top rows by source IP, you can see here, right? So top rows by conversation, top rows by protocol. So these are just for easier, easier analyzing of logs from Firewall. So this is the handy tools. If you if you want to quickly see what firewalls has collected those files, either it deny protocol packets or allows, right? Let me scroll down from here. All right, you can see drop. You can see drop. This is a drop. It dropped the date. It's dropped. That packet is on 22 this year on the 5th of last month, 5th of May, which is this is the time. The protocol used is UDP. This is the source IP address in IPv6. Both IPv6 and IPv4 they are still the same, but it's just that, as he said, the difference is 4 and 6. This is the destination IP address in IPv6, source IP, source ports, destination ports. So that is that on firewall. Uh, I wish to show you because this is peculiar to Windows OS only. The firewall that is being run on Kali or Linux based or Debian based operating system is called IP tables, but I won't be showing us today. It is called IP tables. So let me move to the next section. So networking tools. You know, I said earlier, one of the objective of this class of this session is to look at, as you can see here, brief introduction to networking tools. We've looked at firewall, types of firewall. We practice with Windows firewall and Windows firewall log analyzer, and we are going to be looking at networking tools such as ping, Netstat, and many more. So let me quickly run through that. So networking tools, we shall be looking at some of handy or easy to use networking tools to help test your network and to discover malicious connectivity, right? One of such is ping. Ping. And if you follow carefully last session, you will see that I used that command. We are, of course, we're still going to use it today. Ping. The ping command send packets. You know, I've explained, I've given you literal, simple definition of what packet means. Packet means just packet means like that envelope that every one of us is familiar with, that we put a letter inside and send that letter to our receiver, you know, to the recipient. So packet simply means something that we encapsulate traffic inside, right? And we send it through the internet. That's what they call packets. So the ping command send packets of data to a specific IP address on a network, and then let you know how long it took to transmit that data and get a response. It is a handy tool that you can use to quickly test various points of your network, right? So let me go to that. To get to that, you press Windows key and type CMD, command prompts. You can see, let me broaden my screen. Just type ping and I think slash dash slash backward slash and question mark to give you the usage of it. As you can see, usage of ping. Ping, the option that it has, ping the specify host until stopped, right? When we are using dash T, it will ping the specify host until stopped. In other words, it will be pinging the command until we press Ctrl C to break out. So resolve address to host names. When we want to resolve addresses to host names, you know, I told you earlier what addresses means. For example, we are going to actually that. Somebody want to join? Let me quickly. Oh, sorry. So, sorry, let me go back to it. So this is ping. I will be using Facebook as an example, facebook.com, right? So let me ping it. You can see what is, so let me press Control C. Of course, automatically it will break out. When it's, you know, when it gets to a certain point, it will break out by itself. You can see here, reply from, this is the IP address of Facebook, 102.132.1.135. And the byte that was sent is in 32. The time it takes for me to send the ping command and to receive an answer is 48 milliseconds, right? 48 milliseconds. You can see how fast is that. And as it is doing that, consecutively, the time it takes was reducing, right? We have 18 milliseconds, 24, 28. What ping? Let me go back to that slide to see what it's trying to achieve. The ping command send packets of data to a specific IP address on a network and then let you know how long. Can you see? It lets you know. For example, now, if you are having a network connectivity with your maybe on your system you're having a network connectivity issue, you may want to use ping command. For example, as you connect to team on your laptop, right? And maybe connection is breaking, you can't hear what I'm saying clearly. What you can easily do is that ping that address. For example, you can, as I said here, is either you ping through their host name or IP address, but it's better because of course you won't know their IP address offhand. You will just know their host name. For example, microsoft.teams.com. I'm just using as an example. I don't know whether that is the full host name. So correct host name rather. So you can just ping and use that to detect if it is an indoor problem or the problem is coming from the ISP, right? So that's what it let you know how long it took to transmit that data. Sorry. All right. This is where we are actually exploring ping, exploring Netstat. So we are exploring ping now. So let me go back. I'm just showing the definition so that you can follow along and quickly grasp what we are trying to achieve in the video. So that's what you can use it to do, right? So let me use the option T as it said here, ping dash T. He said ping the specified host until stopped. You know, when I use it without dash T, it stopped on this 1, 2, 3, 4. When it got 4 replies, it stopped. But now let me ping facebook.com again with dash T. You will see that it will be pinging until I press Ctrl C. The way to break out of this is to press Ctrl C. You can see that it's pinging. So the way to break out of this is to press Ctrl C on your system. So let me clear my screen, CLS. You can type CLS to clear the screen, and I will type the command again to bring the help page. So you can see to resolve addresses to host names. So for the sake of that, I don't know the IP address of facebook.com, but let me quickly get that. You can quickly get that. Ping facebook.com. Ctrl C. This is the IP address. You can see here 157, right? This is the IP address. Let me copy that. So I'm going to ping, use the dash A that to their host name. So basically, if you are having network connectivity issue with your system, right? You can see pinging facebook.com. If you're having a network connectivity issue with your system and you are bothering, of course, you may not it depends on the what you are trying to look. But in a big corporation, when they are trying to detect indoor connectivity issue, this is the first go-to tools that they use to detect whether whether the thing is from indoor or from their service provider. So the next command we'll be looking at is exploring Netstat. So let me go back to definition. Netstat is in computing. Netstat is a command line network utility that displays network connections for transmission control protocol, which is TCP, routing tables, and a number of network interface and network protocol statistics. It stands for network statistics. So let me quickly go through that. Why I'm going to show you why this is also handy tools for you to have a basic understanding of. So I'm going to type Netstat again to display the help page. I will type / and question mark. You can see here display protocol statistic and current TCP IP network connections, right? Dash here will display all connections and listening ports. We talked about in last session that listening port means there is a service that is running upon that in that when a port is open, right? It's them saying that port is listening for a connection. Is waiting. It's as if it's waiting to receive a command from somebody. So when that port is closed, it means it is closed. That means it is not open to receive a connection, right? Sorry. So that is what dash A will display all connection and listening ports. Dash B will display the executable involved in creating each connection or listening port. In some cases, you can go through this on your own, but the one simple one that we are going to use now is Netstat Of course, to get the advanced, some of these commands, some of these options, to use it, you actually need the admin privilege. But right now, I'm running on a lower, on a standard user, not admin privilege. So for me to use that advanced, I will still have to, but not yet. But let me first of all show us the basic. Netstat dash A. Let me use dash A to display all dash A to display all the listing. You can see it's still trying to load. You can see we have proto means protocol. We have TCP, you know, as I said earlier, TCP, IP, UDP, ICMP, those are protocol, HTTPS, HTTP, DNS, DHCP, those are the protocols, and they all have their specific role they are trying to achieve. We have local address. Local address means address that is local, which is private address. We have foreign address. Foreign address means public address. The state they are in, are they listening for a connection, or they are, you know, if they are listening, that means they are waiting. If they are established, you can see that they are actually established, means there is connection going on that particular, you can see we have HTTPS. Let me press Ctrl C here so that I can explain what this means. So you can see here, the one that is established, this established now means established. When something is established, they have, you know, they have shake hand. That means client and server. There is a connection going on between client and server. And let's break that down. It's the connection is going over a protocol known as TCP, which is layer 4. You know, ISI model stuff. So it's going on it's using protocol known as TCP, and local IP address that is using. This is my IP address 192.168.42.28. That is my own this machine IP address, and the port. You can see that we have this is not this hyphen, right? And after that, this is a port. This let me bold it. Let me highlight it rather. You can see that is the port that my computer opened to connect with this particular IP, right? This is the IP, right? But right now I don't know the IP. What I can just quickly do, I showed us last week also, I can just press copy that particular IP and go to what's it called, any browser of yours, and just type it in. Let's see what it will show. But while that is loading, let me continue to break this down. What this command means, you can see that it's running on HTTPS, which means it is a web browser. It is a web server rather, HTTPS, and this is the address of the server. This is my port. My port open 496.88 to communicate with this particular address. Let me check that address. I think most of the time Microsoft communicates, right? So those are the of course I won't go into details of that. If you are familiar with, you know that Microsoft sends some telegrams, what is it called, information secretly. That's why Microsoft is not good for privacy and security. They silently collect information, you know, about the user that is using their system. They collect those information silently. So of course, to collect those information, there must be a connection that is communicating. I think this is one of it. So most of the time, it doesn't open in web browser. So let me go, and now you can see here that we can actually see, you know, let me now open CMD in with administrative privilege. So now you can see he said I'm administrator. I'm running as an administrator. What I'm going to do, I'm still going to run the same command again, netstat dash A. Now I'm going to use dash A and O and B. Now let's see in the previous, let's see what that stands for, what dash A, O and B means. You can see dash B means display the executable involved. This is the one that is mostly important. Executable means something that can, for example, something that you can double click on, that we open. That's what they call executable. For example, .exe, right? I in the first session also I explained about extension files. You know, .exe is an executable. When you double click on Microsoft Teams, is an executable, right? So this is so important because most of the malware that that get infected or infect any system comes in form, most of the time in form of executable. If you check that slide also, you will see that I give you list of those file extensions that are safe to open and those that are not safe to open. In fact, the one that is not safe to open is executable, particularly when you download it from untrusted source or website. So I'm going to use the admin right to display all those information now. I'm going to use dash AOB. Sorry, I type in wrong command. It should not be Netstat. It should be Netstat. Netstat. So it's still loading. You can see it's now displaying all the application name themselves. You can see now we have lss.csc, we have cvso.csc. I can know that this is a Microsoft. Those as I said earlier, those are the things that Microsoft used to collect information honestly, silently. So I know that this is one of it. So I won't bother myself as a security analyst. I won't bother myself to look much into that. I know that LSAs, of course, that is what they use to collect password. You know, I don't event log. You can see event log is a Microsoft product. So I will know that all this one, they are trustworthy service that that I won't bother myself much with. Now let's now see, just imagine that you see a site that is saying attacker.exe, and you'll be wondering, you didn't open attacker.exe, so you now need to do further search on how that gets into your system. So that is that. So you can look into that, and if you have any question concerning this, feel free to get back to me. Let me move to the next two, the last two for I'm going to be showing us for, which is process monitor. Process monitor is a tool from Windows 6 internals, part of the Microsoft TechNet website. The tool monitors and displays in real time all the file system activity on a Microsoft Windows or Unix-like operating system. So I think last session I also show us a brief usage of this also. So let me move. Let me first of all close all this. I don't need them again. So again, I'm going to open, you press window, type in computer management and open it as an administrator. And again, it may not prompt you for password because I've configured my system for optimum security. That's why it's prompting me, So let's allow that to open. While that is opening, let me check the all right. Are you still there? Olumide? Olumide? All right, let me continue.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So the last two I'll be showing today is, as I said, process monitor. You will come to this performance. So open resource monitor is the same thing as process monitor. So as you can see, we have four headings here. We have overview. We display overview of all of these particular headings. So we have CPU, memory, disk, network. But because we are dealing with network here, we're focusing on network aspect. So we processes with network activity, right? What that simply means is that processes that are running with network, as you said, with network activity. There are some processes that that runs without network activity. As you can see, process simply means it could be as you can see Teams, as I said, is an executable file. Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Chrome, It could also be, for example, .pdf. Eh? If .pdf is running with administrative, what is it called, network activity, is a red flag that something is fishy. Because to open a PDF, you don't need a network connectivity. So that means, of course, those are the ways. I don't think we are going to deal with that when we get to phishing. I don't know yet. Don't let me, I don't know, because phishing actually, when it's is one of the mode of the delivery. When what we saw, excuse me, please. What we saw, right, is one of the uh, delivery mode. Phishing is one of the delivery mode that they use to deliver, what is it called, uh, malware, right, into the target system. So one of that is creating a PDF, right, that looks something that, for example, if you are, as a student, right, you are given a project to for example, to take a research on, let's say, plants, right, and you are to give your to present your this thing in a PDF format, right. So an attacker can, of course, they must have known that you are doing that research. They can leverage upon, on that, and use that to create a fake research that looks, in fact, it may even be the same content that is in your own research, the report you are about to give. But of course, they will have backdoored it with exe, a malicious, which is known as Trojan. That's what Trojan actually means. It will look benign, it will look unmalicious to you, but underneath, it is malicious. So it is, when you see something PDF running with network activity, is a red flag that you are being, your computer is compromised, right? So we can see here Teams, of course. And if you see anything, for example, if I didn't open Teams.exe, and it's running, is a red flag too. When it's because I'm using Team now. All of these apps are open. That's why it's displaying here. But just imagine that I didn't open them, they are not running, and I come to this network tab and I see them under here. Is a red flag that something is happening. So you have to dig further into that as a security analyst. So you can see all of these. I know that I trust them. They are service that I know that I started. So network activity, you can see it's still the same, but here it gives you address. They are originating from Teams. This is my host name. I use host name instead of IP address. So this is my host name here. The address of this particular, I think this is their public address, right? So please hold on, please. All right. So these are where we dig using network security tools to find malware on the system. All right. So TCP connections. Is the one like we saw in Netstat. This one is also synonymous to that, but this one gives us it expand on it. You can see Teams.exe. This is process ID. Local address that is running from local ports. Remote address this is the remote address of Teams. This is 52114. So the remote port, and you can see packet load latency. Latency means the time to take. The time latency simply means the time it takes for packets sent to the receiver or to the server to return with a response. The time, that lagging time is what's known as latency. So listening ports. These are the ports that are listening. In other words, they are waiting for connection. They are open to receive connection, right? If you check here, I know that this is a Microsoft server. I don't have to bother system, all of those ones. Now, let's say that you have attacker.exe here saying it is listening. That means there is a backdoor on your system, right? When it is listening, attacker can just wake up at any time and send command, and it will establish that command. Silently, you won't know. It will be digging into your system, That is how computer or any network get breached. So, that is it for this session. We have come to the end of the session. How I will wish to look further into it, but I'm time conscious too. So at this point, let me move to the next slide. It is question and answer time. Questions and answer time. You can unmute yourself if you have any question.